Yeah, bang bang mate, or Roy Shaw. Um, I've got some memories about Roy Shaw, mate. I mean, when he was in prisons, Parkhurst and all that, yeah, he used to do a thing called taking off prison doors, yeah. And to take off a prison door, you've got to be so strong. Don't know about that, mate. And mad, that is a fruitcake. But he used to put books behind the door and whip it off. Yeah, actually rip it off. Once the first hinge had gone, he'd rip the door off and throw the hinge out. Yeah, the screws were petrified of Roy Shaw. Roy Shaw, listen, he was the governor in Parkhurst at that time. No worries about that, mate. And when they sent him to Baltimore, he had to listen. He buckled down a bit, yeah, because he had to get out of there. In Baltimore, it's a hospital, and all you got to do, mate, is behave yourself, and you get out. It's a lot easier in Baltimore than it is in any other prison, believe, yeah? Because Baltimore is a hospital. You do what they want, they do. I mean, he went on the electronic treatments as well, boy. And they put him down as a schizophrenic psychopath. How about that? Schizophrenic psychopath. But I loved him, man. I liked him. I see most of his fights. He had a heart, man. He had a big heart. Little guy, what 5'10", not even that, I don't think. But can bang. He's a banger, and he kept going, moving and bobbing and weaving, mate. Yeah, and he kept throwing punches. I mean, when I used to see him down at Beckett a couple of times as Barbie Boy, well, more than a couple of times, about 4 or 5 times. This guy, the first time I ever sparred with Boy, he really, really hurt me. It got stopped, yeah. He caught me a couple of times on the chin, shook me up a little bit, when you get shaken up, especially in a little ring like I got in the Beckett, mate. The ring is very tiny. You can't get away, really. It's so tiny. But after me having more sparring, more people like Colombo and people like that, yeah, Steve Richards, whatever. And I was getting, then I come back because I was trained with professional fighters before, like Bugner, Billy Head, and all them, and my mate Phil McGew and all that. So I had it there, but when we coming back, and after that, then I started to bash Shaw up a little bit, yeah. But good fight, mate. I had a lot of respect for Roy. When he fought Lenny the first time, he bashed Lenny up, I see him a couple of times. I used to always be around them areas, yeah, Chigwell's, yeah. And Chigwell, you got to go through Chigwell to get to Epping Forest. And Roy Shaw used to live just off there, but there used to be a big McDonald's on the corner. You do a left there, going onto the motorway, and Roy's house would be on the right hand side. A nice house. I believe that when he died, they put him in that house. I'm not quite sure, yeah. But I like Roy, mate. And sometimes you see the Dobermans outside. I've seen Roy running a few times down the road. Yeah, man. Stocky, short, powerful legs, big, massive calves. Yeah. When I see him running around, he used to have his hair. It's like funny. It's like he had no hair on top, really. He used to brush it over. It's comical, you know what I mean? It's typical schizophrenic psychopath, and that is a fruitcake, boy. But he was supposed to be a good businessman as well, you know what I mean? But I loved him, man. I loved him. I mean, Royston, I think his name was Royston Henry Shaw. That was the name he was born with. Royston Henry Shaw, that's almost name, isn't it? Royston. I suppose he didn't like that too well. And then he's Pretty Boy Shaw, and then it was a mean machine, wasn't it? Yeah, and really, after he came out of prison, I believe, what is it, 70s, 80s. I mean, he had it hard, because the 70s, I've been in prison in the 60s, 68s, 67, 68s, up to 70, past the 70s, past the 80s, and them days were hard, mate. You know what I mean? Them times in prison was hard, like it was bang up, big screws, big MP screws that used to love bashing you up, big sticks. It wasn't afraid to steam into you, mate, and they'd have a fight with you in the cell, but if you bashed them up, then they'd come back team-handed, but they still have a fight. And you imagine that, can't you? Getting in the cell with a screw and then have a fight and bashing him up. I mean, that's lovely, isn't it? Imagine that. That must be a great feeling. But obviously later on they come through the door and they buckle you up, tie you up, and put you down the block. But it's still a good feeling, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's to do that. But that was in Roy Shaw's days. Um, the rumours that are that like two screws would go in Roy's cell for a fight, and Roy would come out. Yeah, Roy would come out, and the screws would be left in there, and then they steam into Roy, put him down the block and all that. And but before they could steam into Roy, he hurt a lot of screws, mate. Powerful, little powerful guy, mate. A lot of respect for him, mate. A big respect. I didn't when I was sparring with Roy. I didn't want to fight Roy on the shows. I wanted Lenny, on the shows. I didn't want to fight Roy. Uh, Roy, the first time I see Roy, when he beat Lenny, he really bashed him up bad, yeah. But as I say, but Lenny put weight on. Lenny come back, didn't he, and bashed up Roy a couple of times, But Roy could take it. I mean, Roy, he lost a lot of weight. He lost because when he came out of prison, he was really bulky, wasn't he? Big arms, massive legs, massive calves, raving lunatic. He had Joe Pyle, he had Alex Steen in his camp. I mean, he also had Ray Bender. Ray Bender, Ronnie Bender's, Ronnie Bender's brother. Alex Steen and Ray Bender wanted me to turn pro. Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, they was on me big time. They was on my case big time. But Alex Steen, Joe Paul, mate, they were like proper gangsters in the unlicensed boxing game. And then you had Frankie Warren, didn't you, with Lenny McLean. But Alex Steen and he was the governor, mate. Alex Steen was definitely governor. Joe Paul, without a shadow of a doubt, they were the ones who you didn't muck about with, mate. Joe Paul was really heavy. Alex Steen was really heavy, and I've seen him a few times down my mate's club. Yeah, mate, I see him down there with Roy once, and Roy didn't look like the Roy that I'd knew from prison. Do you know? I've never seen Roy in prison. Never ever was in the same prison as Roy. But when I say seen him, I mean hear about him. Like I could visualise him. You know what I mean? When you used to hear about Roy taking the cell doors off, and I thought to myself, well, I've got to beat that. I've got to better that. Yeah. So in prison, I used to take the door handles off. You know the door handles? I used to take them off. The one door handle, whoop, I used to rip it off. Yeah, rip it right off, mate. No, I can. And the ones that come along, the new ones that come along, I used to bend them so much, and they had a sort of like a pin in there. I was just break the pin. You try that, mate. And that was what I was just doing. That was my thing. Boy used to take the doors off. I used to take the locks off. Yeah, it's just seriously. I was big, powerful geezer, mate. Doing big deadlifts, massive rapid benching, massive inclines, good squats. Even though I kept finding forward, I still done big leg squats. You know what I mean? But yeah. But when I used to hear about Roy, I was quite fascinated to hear what it was like in prison. To hear that in Broadmoor they give me electric treatment, electric shock treatment, trying to stop that schizophrenic psychopath away he had, get that out of him because he was very violent. They couldn't get it out, mate. That was there. That was inbred. That was there. I often think about fighters like Roy, Lenny McLean, Brian Hall, Cliff Fields, and all them sort of people. Did they maybe go through the same thing I went sexually? Was they ever sexually abused as kids? I don't know. I've not really looked into their life that much, yeah. But sometimes when you see people like that, who are a bit schizophrenic, psychopaths, and are a bit really violent, you think, well, did they go through the same thing I went through? Because that's what made me, I feel, the person that I was at that time. I mean, I'm not the same person no more. I'm really quieting down. I can lose it when I get pushed too much, yeah. But I really try now to control it, to control myself. Yeah, and it's only the IPP that's made me do it. doing all the skills they give me, using them skills, yeah. I use the skills they give me, but yeah, big time I use them skills. But anyway, it's not about it's about my own Michael Roy Shaw. But I thought he was like, you know, and when you think about it, in the 1970s and 80s, there was a lot, you know, there was a lot of nutters about, you know, people, most guys in prisons in the 70s and 80s were proper gangsters, yeah, proper gangsters and villains. None of this sort it is today, drugs and paedophilia and all that. In them days, the proper men, mate, was hard men. And Roy was a category A prisoner, was also a category A prisoner. I think he was category A for a long time, mate. He was too violent, so put on the other wings as such, yeah. He didn't give a fuck about getting released as such until they sent him to Broadmoor, where he knew then that he's got to work his ticket to get out, because he could get out a lot earlier in the Broadmoor than he could in a normal nick. So he just worked his ticket. He was very, very clever, and he got out earlier. But he was an handful, mate. He was an handful, and when Lenny beat him the second time, you know, I couldn't believe it really. And the third time, I thought both of them fights were the get-ups actually, being that Joe Pyle, Alex Steen, Lenny McLean, and Frankie Warren were involved. I thought it was a get together, and it was just, you know, just put a lot of money in it, and that was it, yeah. That's what I thought. But same with Cliff Fields, really. I mean, Cliff Fields. I mean, you know, a lot of people. I mean, with Lenny, Lenny's life story and all this, and the people who do his life story don't really like to say about Lenny, about how many fights he lost. I know how many fights he lost, but sometimes some people say, "Well, stop it, Ray. The guy's dead. You know, give him a bit of respect." So I'm going to give him a bit of respect and don't say it, even though I know it's 7. You know what I mean? But I loved him, mate. I loved Lenny McLean as a man, proper man, mate. He, you know, proper man. Roy Shaw, proper man. You'd think Lenny would be a schizophrenic, but Lenny wasn't. He was just a normal guy that worked, yeah. Whereas Roy, he was involved with the craze. He was rolling with his craze, mate. He done some nasty things with the craze. He's a bit of an handful with that lot as well. You know what I mean? People don't realise that he was with the craze. Yeah, he was part of the firm, mate. He was, he was nasty. Roy. Anyway, bang bang, Ray. Please press the like and subscribe. Nice.